Hi, my name is Richard Soriano, and I'm a front-end developer. And today we're going to go over a multi-select button using React and a little bit of Tailwind. So this is my multi-select, and the way it works, it's part of a larger application. So I just wanted to focus on this today because it's really tricky. You can select the book, and you can unselect the book. And when you hover over them, they are highlighted. So let's take a look closer at this. So we're only going to focus on this part right now. This is this. So let's write the function out. Bag books. Okay. So when I write a function, I always ask myself, what am I passing and what am I returning? So in this case, I'm passing books, obviously, because that's what I'm going to map over. I'm also passing bags and set bag. Now, let me explain that. So books, let's explain the data structure. So you have book, and book is an object with a ID, title, and what else do I have? Author. Okay. And then obviously, if you do books, which I'm passing, books, is just an array of them. Essentially, you would have that. Okay? And you would just have more than one of them. Then you also have bag. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking the books and I'm adding them to my bag. Kind of like a shopping cart. So I have bag, and that has a name on it. The name is a string. Category, undefined, and books. That's what we want. And books is an array. So just keep that in mind. This is where those structures are really important. We don't need them for now. I'll just comment them out, but keep them in mind. So what am I returning? In the multi-select, let's just start with returning the books. So I'm returning an unordered list, and I'm going to take the books and I'm going to map through them. Just like that. So here they are. List of books. Okay. What else did we notice? We also noticed that you can highlight them. So we'll do that. That one's pretty easy. Tailwind uses something called the hover effect. So we will set the background to blue 500. And when you hover, you also want to change the text. Otherwise, you may not be able to read it. And there we go. So you have the hover blue and hover text. Let's just get rid of that for a second because I want to focus on this other thing. So we'll come back to that. So on click. Okay. On click you want to set the bag, you want to add the books into the bag. Again, we want to add books into this bag. So we're going to use the previous statement to track our state. And from the previous statement, previous state, sorry, you want to keep everything from the previous state, but you want to return books. So in this case, we will return books, but we will return an array of books. And inside the array, we are going to keep what was previous. We are going to add book. So the previous state, we are going to return everything. So all of this name category, we are going to add to this book array. And I think we were going to need to inspect it. So that way we can keep track of it. So here's bag. Here's bag, the state of bag. And again, we're using the useState hook. In bag, there are books, and it's an empty array. So when you click on it, it added a book. Yay! So that is the book by Darby. Click again, and it added another book. But if you keep clicking the same book, it keeps adding to it. Okay. So what that means in books, if it exists, then do something else, do something else. So if it exists, then we will filter it out or delete it, filter it out. Else, we're going to add, right? So we're going to use one of these statements. So add, we already have here. So that's pretty cool. Okay. If it exists, let's break this down. So if it exists, we could use we have an array of books, and that comes from Prev.books. We can do an include, let's just say we do an includes this book. Unfortunately, we can't in JavaScript because includes only works on characters and strings and numbers, and it compares them and it returns true or false. So that won't work. Let's use sum. Sum, it's pretty cool because you can pass a callback function and then you can dig into the object. With sum, let's bring this to another line. Okay. Notice that I use an underscore in here. Why? It's a callback function. I wanted to distinguish visually that it's local. And so that way I can keep closure and know that I won't mix it up with this book. So this book comes from the map. As I'm mapping through the books, I'm using each one of these and I'm comparing it to this local. And this local comes from sum, okay? So if it exists, else we filter it out. else filter it out. Well, again, same thing. We're going to use the filter and we're going to pass in the same thing again, using the underscore because we want to keep it, we want to visually distinguish they are different. So clean up my code a little bit. And this is essentially what it looks like. So the books, again, is I want to return an array, but depending, so if it exists, then you want to filter it out. If it else, you want to add it. So let's see what we came up with. So currently I have the state of bag, books and bags. I have this author. So click on that, remove that, and it removed all the books. So if I click on this, it will add the books. If I click on it again, it will remove the books. Click on it, it adds. Click on it, it removes. So again, in this previous state, again, it's really important that we keep the previous state of bag. Again, bag is an object. We use a previous state to track it, and we keep track of the name and the category and the current books that are on there. So then we can overwrite if necessary. Okay. So that's how that part works. Now, this is the tricky part. So right now we're hovering it over it if the book as we highlight it. Or right now, as we hover the mouse, it uses the hover effect. What we need to do is we need to highlight it if it exists. So we're going to have a literal string in there. Now, what exactly are we going to evaluate? We're going to see if it exists, if that book exists. So again, we can use some, which works. Well, why? Let's try something else. Let's try find. So what are we going to do in find? Find uses the callback function and it returns the first element in that array. Whereas sum only returns a truth or false if one of those exists, if at least one of them exists. So let's try. So in the bag, we're going to look through the books. We are going to do a find on it. Again, I'm using the underscore. Why are we using the underscore? Again, closure, so that I know this book belongs to them. And this is the callback function that will be evaluated. So we are going to compare the ID. So we're going to compare this ID, this book ID in the find, and this book ID from this map up here. Again, bag was passed through here. And we are manipulating the object bag. Let's see what we got. If I select that, does it stay selected? No, it does not. All right. So I think I forgot to add some text in there. So if that exists, then let's see. If that exists, then you want to return BG blue 500 text 1. Else return nothing. So if it finds it, if the book exists in the array, then you want to highlight it. Else, if it's not selected, then you want to do nothing. So currently, I have this book by Marsha Melton, and that's highlighted. So if I click on it again, it unhighlights. So Good Horse was added, selected again, it's unhighlighted. So that's how it works. Again, so thank you very much for watching. And have fun programming, because there's so much to know, and there's so much great stuff about React, and so much happens just in this one component. So thank you.